It seems like it was just yesterday that Russell Westbrook was tearing up the league with his flashy layups and ruthless dunks.
Westbrook out of there with it for the Thunder. Westbrook down the lane for the throwdown.
It has only been 5 years since Russell Westbrook made NBA history as the second player to ever average a triple-double for an entire season, and in doing so he managed to win the MVP award in 2017. And since then, he averaged a triple-double for a season not one but 2 more times. Jump forward 3 years later and he's coming off the bench for the LA Lakers. So what happened? How did Russ go from one of the best point guards in the league to a 6-man so incredibly fast? To understand his downfall, we have to shortly talk about his rise to glory. Russell Westbrook was drafted with the 4th pick by the Seattle Supersonics in 2008 to play alongside another young promising talent, Kevin Durant. KD and Russ each had different playstyles, KD being the dynamic scorer who could shoot the lights out, while Russ relied more on slashing to the rim and finishing off layups. He averaged 15 points, 5 rebounds and 5 assists in his rookie year. The 2009 draft brought another piece in the form of James Harden, and just like that, the new big three in Oklahoma City was formed. In that same year, the young rising stars managed to crack the playoffs as the 8th seed, facing Kobe Bryant and the LA Lakers in the first round. Even though they lost 4-2, it was this playoff series Russell Westbrook showed the world he was the real deal, averaging 20 points, 6 rebounds and 6 assists per game. And in his 3rd season, Russ made a huge jump in his game. He was now a 22 point per game scorer and one of the most electric point guards in the league, and he managed to make the All-Star team for the first time in his career. In the following years, Russ and OKC looked great. The youngsters made it to the NBA Finals in 2012, but lost in 5 games against the Chosen One and his partners. And in the fall of 2012, James Harden left the squad for Houston. The at that point 6th man of the year wanted a bigger contract than the Thunder was willing to give him. This left KD and Russ as a duo. Despite losing one of the biggest talents in the league in James Harden, they still managed to win 60 games in the next season. In the 2013 playoffs, however, things took a turn for the worse when Patrick Beverley dove into Westbrook's knee in an attempt to steal the ball, tearing Westbrook's meniscus. This would sideline him for the remainder of the playoff series, and the OKC lost in the 2nd round. The next season, Russ was sidelined for 36 games due to his injury, but number 35 managed to pick up the slack. KD won his first and only MVP award, and with Russ back on the floor in the 2014 playoffs, expectations were high for the OKC Thunder. After a great playoff run, the Thunder's fire was extinguished by the eventual champions in the San Antonio Spurs, beating the OKC Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. The following year was stained by the injuries of Kevin Durant, and without KD on the floor, Russell averaged 28 points per game. Despite this jump in performance for Russell Westbrook, it wasn't enough to lift OKC to a playoff spot. The 2016 season was a great season for Russell Westbrook and the OKC Thunder. WESTBROOK managed to land the 4th place in MVP voting, as the OKC Thunder landed the 3rd seed in the West. The 2016 playoffs started great, beating both the Mavs and the Spurs in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. However, they faced MVP guard Stephen Curry and a 73-win Warriors team in the Western Conference Final. Westbrook and KD were incredible in the first couple games of this series. OKC was up 3-1 on the Golden State Warriors and were just 1 game away from reaching the NBA Finals. But when needed most, the OKC couldn't close out that final game, and they finally lost in 7 games, after an incredible comeback from the Golden State Warriors. After this devastating turn of events, things took another turn for the worse. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook's on-court best friend, left him without notice for the Golden State Warriors in the offseason. He wanted the championship and thought that OKC wasn't up for it. Despite Kevin Durant leaving, Russ stayed loyal to the OKC franchise and he signed a 3-year extension. The upcoming 3 years of Russell Westbrook's career can only be described as incredible. The man averaged a triple-double for 3 seasons straight, becoming the MVP in 2017. It was his greatest achievement of his career. Even though the OKC franchise tried to build around Russell Westbrook with great pieces like Paul George and Carmelo Anthony, they did not manage to get out of the first round in the playoffs in the final 3 years of Russell's OKC years. After a couple of years of no playoff success, Russell requested a trade. and ended up with his former teammate James Harden in Houston. Russell was still playing great. His explosiveness remained, but his poor shot selection and his below average efficiency that had lingered throughout his career carried on. The 2020 playoffs was a disappointment for Russell and the Rockets, exiting the playoffs in round 2. Russell and Harden realized the fit wasn't great, and Russell requested another trade, ending up in Washington with all-star guard Bradley Beal. People didn't expect much from this Wizards team, and Russ played well with his new squad. Another first round exit in the playoffs made Russell Westbrook ask for another trade in 3 straight years. He realized time was running out for him to get an NBA championship, and the Lakers jumped on the opportunity. They were in search for a good third option and thought Russell Westbrook would be the right fit for them. As we all know now, this wasn't a great move from LA. Russell has always been a very ball dominant player, but in LA the ball handling position was already filled by LeBron James. You can tell Russ feels out of place in this third option role, and he performed rather terrible last season and the start of this season. His good name was dragged through the mud and became mostly known as Russell Westbrick. So is Russell Westbrook just washed, or is it his new team? Personally, I think it's mainly his new team, but he is definitely regressing as well, which is typical for players like him, who rely mostly on explosiveness and finishing at the rim. I hope people don't just remember Russell Westbrook for his time in LA, but also for his greatness in OKC. I appreciate you watching.